Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are we doing?
I'm doing good. I see you're trying to get us ready for this all these calls I gotta make today. So got my blood pumping with this music.
Yeah, there you go. Call on me, right?
I love it.
I uh I was trying to look for the score, but the Falcons beat the Saints 24-10, so that's always a good day in Atlanta.
There you go.
Uh all right. We've got a lot to get to today, so I'm gonna jump in, Manny, if you're good.
Let's
All
do it. We
right.
got a lot.
All right, let's get the screen up here. I'm gonna hit the numbers pretty quick. So uh inventory, active inventory. It's certainly tapering down, and that's normal for this time of year. This is Fulton County, and I actually think it's a healthy thing. We need that inventory to come back down a little bit. So you're seeing it go from like 1,000 down to 700, down to 600, down to 610 this last 7 days, which is probably healthy. Um, we saw 101 go under contract in the last 7 days in Fulton County. It's come down a little bit. I do think this is has some holiday effect in it, if you will. People have started traveling for Thanksgiving. I mean, we've got 40 people on this call. Obviously, some people are already on vacation this week, right? Like, so 101 active inventory in Fulton County is pretty normal. We've got 269 pending, which is very healthy. So 271, 296, 277. The last 4 weeks has been very healthy in number of properties pending compared to what we were seeing before. We were in the 230s, 227, 240, and then almost in that high 200s in the last 4 weeks, which just goes to tell a little bit of the story that we're feeling like the buyers are pushing their foot on the gas pedal a little bit. And that's really positive. With 333 properties closed out in the last 7 days, 345 the week before, these are big numbers, guys, for this time of year. Now, history in real estate, December always felt like it had a little bit of an extra bump in home sales every year. But historically, October and November were not the best months of the year in terms of transactions, just from a seasonality perspective. Yet we're seeing, and I'm going to show you some graphs here in a little bit, that we're kind of breaking trend, meaning November is going to come in much healthier than what we expected. And December is projected to come in even healthier than what we projected as well. So you're starting to see it in these numbers. Now, if I go over to DeKalb, Manny, where you're at,
Yep.
my inventory certainly come down a little bit. It's 308. It's slid down over the last couple of weeks. I think this is a little artificially low because of the holiday, of course, but not a lot of people put their house on the market before a big holiday like Thanksgiving. Yet, 79, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. 79 went under contract in the last 7 days. Very healthy number. We had 90 the week before, but we were running in those 60s for a couple weeks there. And we've had 90 and 79 over the last 2 weeks. So I feel really positive around those numbers. And to 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 show it, there's 172 pending in DeKalb County right now, and you can see that's a big number going into the end of the month week, right? Like technically, if you just look at a calendar, uh, Wednesday is kind of the last day of the month. So there's probably a lot of transactions closing today, tomorrow, and Wednesday, because the first is Monday, and this is the last week of the month, but it's really only going to be 3 days. So while it's probably exciting, it's also going to probably have a lower number next week because we lost 2 business days. But we'll see. 190 closed out in the last 7 days. in DeKalb County. Cobb County, same story. Inventory is starting to taper down, but they have 90 that went under contract in the last 7 days, which is just almost consistently healthy for 5, 6 weeks. 197 pending is a big number going into the week in Cobb County, and 215 closed out with 227 the week before. Feels really solid. What do you make of the numbers, Manny?
We've talked about the seasonality of real estate being all over the place this year. So, shouldn't be any surprises there. And I'll tell you, earmuffs to all the stats people that help put all this together. This is the time of the year where I stop paying attention to the stats and I go so hard on those outlier clients, those people that can move because they don't have kids in school, those people that have the opportunity to buy condos, townhomes. There are opportunities out there, y'all. Don't forget about that. And those are the ones I focus on in these months in business because they're the ones that can move.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. There's two things I think you need to be aware of about our industry for 2026. And not real big talking points. I just want you aware. So the National Association of Realtors, here's what I believe is going to happen in 2026. There's going to be immense pressure on NAR to evolve their value proposition. So they're certainly coming out and separating the National Association of Realtors and MLS membership. So what that means is we have FMLS in Atlanta, which has always been a wholly owned MLS, but most of the country, the MLS and the Board of Realtors were very tied to each other. So obviously Georgia MLS is tied to the DeKalb Board of Realtors and all that stuff. But that's one thing. But what I really believe is happening is it started with the NAR lawsuit. And what is the value proposition of National Association of Realtors to the industry? And every company has to evolve their value proposition over time. So it started there, but I think there's going to be big pressure on NAR in 2026 from this climate of mergers and acquisitions long term that's going to cause NAR to have to focus on what is the value proposition from NAR to the industry. And I think you're going to see that happen in 2026. There's certainly pressure on it. And they've been sued like everybody. So they're having to do a cost cutting expense to handle the lawsuit settlements and things like that. But overall, I think you just need to be aware there's going to probably be a pressure on NAR to raise their value proposition next year. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and I've been thinking about this. So Jerome Powell is the Federal Reserve Chair. He's been the Federal Reserve Chair for 18 years. And I've been in the industry 26 years. Prior to Jerome Powell was a guy named Alan Greenspan. And you could say, and argue it, but you could say that the Federal Reserve Chair might be the second most powerful person in our country. So they control monetary policy in the US, right? Well, his term ends in May next year. So when Alan Greenspan stepped down and Jerome Powell took office, the climate in America, it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it was a big deal, but it wasn't like a politicized deal. This is going to be very political. And whoever steps into the Federal Reserve Chair come May next year is going to have a big impact on our industry because their job is monetary policy in the U.S. And I think it's going to be more political than it's been in the past. One, two, I think there's going to be a lot of conversation and pressure and media personalities talking about it. And I just want you aware that that's going to transpire in May next year. And of course, this article talks about the 5 people they think most prone to be a candidate for it. And there's really not much to talk about outside the fact that it's going to happen in May next year, and it will have the consumer's mind, and media will go crazy over it, and it's coming in May next year. So, how does a Federal Reserve get seated? The president nominates, and the Senate approves. So, whether you want to believe it or not, it's going to be political. And if the current administration is nominating the chair and the Senate majority is in Republican, my suspicion is the Federal Reserve chair will have a policy of driving interest rates down. And I think that actually probably will benefit our industry a little bit. Lower interest rates tend to speed the market up. But nonetheless, it's not a political comment one way or another. It's just I want you aware that there's two things that I think, Manny, I was looking forward to a normal, boring year, but there's never a normal, boring year. I
Not
think
anymore.
these are two big things that are coming at the industry in 2026. Make sense?
Absolutely. I think it's short and sweet. We should be ready and prepared for a range of outcomes on both of these. That's it.
Absolutely. All right, let me reshare so I can make sure the sound's playing. I want to play a video for you guys real quick. So Jason Abrams is on Instagram now, and if you're not aware, he is. It's his thing is The Real Jason Abrams. But he's got this video, and I want to play it, and then we'll talk about it.
Kinds of questions. People say, Jason, why are you now on Instagram? Well, friends, I had an awakening. Jay Papasan explained this to me. Here's what he said. He said, by and large, those of us that wake up and run a database-driven business, which is what the real estate business is, all live on an X and Y axis. On the Y axis, we have connection. We are trying to raise the level of connection with people. Then on the X axis, we have scale. We're trying to increase the amount of scale that we have. For the longest time, small business owners, we haven't had the ability to do that. Think about this. When you meet with someone one-on-one, you have almost no scale but the highest amount of connection. Then you have things like client events. That's going to be a high level of connection, maybe a little less than one-on-one, and you're going to scale a little more. Maybe you have 50, 100, 200, 300 people. Now then you have way down here. This is a really low amount of connection with a lot of scale. This is stuff like mailers, if you're doing geographic farming. And then over here, this has no scale and connects with no one. Friends, I call this the dead zone. So, why did I get on social media? Well, when you think about what has the highest amount of connection with the most amount of scale. And forever, when you grew up, gang, you were here with movies. Joy is filming this. Joy, what's your favorite movie?
Oh my God, the only thing that came to mind was Die Hard.
Which is a Christmas movie. So we had movies over here. We have podcasts over here. Comment down below if you don't think Die Hard is a Christmas movie. You're, of course, wrong, but I'd love to hear from you. You have podcasts and this thing right here. Gang, you got social media. Never before in the history of ever have you had small business owners and individuals with the ability to connect at the highest level and offer the most amount of scale. So, Jason Abrams on Instagram, why is that? Because I get it, gang. And guess what? Now that I'm here, you're not getting rid of me anytime soon.
All right. So, Manny, we put these kind of articles on the screen quite a bit about social media. And if you're not aware, which I'm crazy excited about, is they've taken Family Reunion in February, which is in Atlanta, by the way. And the entire first day of Family Reunion has been reworked to be social media con. So they're all in on this conversation around social media. And I've never heard it explained the way Jason explained it, but it makes all the sense in the world. And the real estate agent of tomorrow is probably going to be very successful through social media. And like this article says, everything you need to know about social media in under 1,100 words. and he gives 5 strategies. The 3-2-1 connection accelerator. He talks about don't just create, don't just consume. He's talking about post consistently. Treat social media as the new CRM, and he's talking about convert, don't just collect followers, right? But we put articles on this industry update all the time about social media. Yet I don't know that the concept of understanding your ability to connect with people and your ability to scale your real estate at the highest level, um, I don't think I've ever heard it explained that way. And I think it's really, really smart. And I just want to make sure people are getting the big picture perspective when we talk about social media and how you're uh, building your real estate business. But more importantly, it's the messaging you're putting out there, right? And the storytelling you're putting out there. Manny, you're kind of a social media guy. What do you think when I put all this on here?
So and even the way you said it, right? I'm a social media guy. I have learned to use social media to scale my business, not to sit there, scroll, and go down rabbit holes. And I think that's where people get a little overwhelmed and confused. They think when we encourage them to use social media that we're saying you have to like do all the filler profile, you have to sit there and do all the, all the scrolling and all of that. It isn't. It's taking social media, showing your knowledge, showing who you are, being able to talk about your accomplishments and using it to really gain and really bring people in from social media to your database. That's the big win, right? Also remember, social media is worldwide, so do not forget about referrals. That is one of those key things. Sit down, talk to someone else about a different game plan in social media for referrals. It's worldwide.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Next thing. So this article on Housing Wire is really strategic, guys. I want you to tune in if you've been tuned out. Total pending home sales reach multi-year high with mortgage rates near 6%. We've been talking on these calls, your team leaders, myself, Rick, we've been talking about how we're seeing in the data that the market's moving faster. And what I love about us doing these calls is we actually see it before the media reports it. So the media waits to report until they get the data from the previous month, right? So this is a lot of October data, but we saw it way ahead of time. But I want you to see these graphs. So this is the graph of pending home sales over the last 4 years. So obviously the gray line is 2022, and this is when the market turned. And then 2022 ended really, really low with a pending home sale category. But 23 looked very much the same as 2022. In 2024 looked the same as 2023 did. Yet 2025, it's still a little early to tell, but my prediction is you're going to notice that we're breaking trend right here. And the 2025 line, if you can see my cursor, is going to finish the year with pending home sales much higher than the previous 3 years. And in a way, we're breaking the trend of what we've been experiencing over the last 3 years. That's pending home sales. If you look at weekly pending sales, you don't see it just the same, but my suspicion is this line is going to stay higher in 2024 compared to what 2024, I'm sorry, in 2025 compared to what 2024 is. But here's the graph you really see it. So this is mortgage applications. And you'll notice back in March is when the lines were kind of in sync. And then I guess it says it right here. 42 straight weeks, we've been higher on mortgage applications than what the number was in 2024, with some big spreads here. So what that's saying is that's the early indicator that the buyers are putting the foot on the gas pedal and moving faster into the market. And we're going to sell more houses next year, guys. And I suspect we're already going to sell more houses in November and December. And this line's going to hold off trend through the end of this year and start the year higher than trend of the previous 3 years. Do I think we're going to be as high as 2022? No, but I think we're going to come in somewhere here in the middle. And it's just positive energy for our industry that we're going faster. Does that make sense? Manny, what is your opinion?
Look, I think we're seeing the demand is there. I think the value proposition still matters, right? Even though demand is getting up a little bit, we are still needing to show why we're necessary, why we can see those opportunities. And the final note I made is honestly that now is the time to push that outreach because the momentum is real. However, remember that the conditions matter a lot and it's almost daily. So the more you tune in again to industry update, the more you're in tune with your local market, your local office happenings of stats, the better you will be able to show up. And hopefully it's on social media.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. This is interesting. So we don't think about this as often, yet our industry drives a lot of other industry. So when we're selling a lot of houses, what's usually one of the first stores people go to after they buy a house is Home Depot or Lowe's, right? So when the real estate market, and the reason I wanted to put this article on here is you've got to understand that our industry drives such a large portion of the economics in our country. And the age group that drives the biggest percentage of economics in our industry is really around 35 to 44. That age group spends the most amount of money because typically they're buying their first home. They've got to furnish it. They got to go to Home Depot, do repairs. They're usually having their first kids. They're having to go to Bed Bath and Beyond. They're having to go to Babies R Us. They're spending money that people that have lived that phase of their life already don't spend the same amount of money. So you got to understand, we sit at the tip of the iceberg in terms of the economics in our country because real estate, when people buy and sell real estate at a high level, the economics is a trickle down effect. And the reverse happens. When people aren't buying and selling real estate at a high level, the economics don't fall down the chain. And this is an easy example of the economics not falling down the chain when the housing market is in a less than state. So why do I say all this? The government wants the housing market to thrive. Now, they do let it struggle at times, but they do not want the housing market to struggle for an extended period of time because the economics and people spending money is primarily driven a lot by the real estate industry. So, all that to say, we've been in a slump, if you will, for going on about 3 years now. And the motivations and the outlook is it's time for the housing market to take off again. And all projections are expecting that to happen in 2026. NAR is quoting 14%. I think that's quite optimistic. They're quoting 14%, let me be clear, on existing home sales and 3 to 4% increase in new home sales. But it's fascinating when you see like, okay, Lowe's and Home Depot are struggling. Well, that makes sense because the housing market's been struggling for 3 years. But as the housing market increases, so does the economics go through our country. Um, Let me go here first. So this is the global perspective around more homes will hit the market in 2026. Here's the pricing outlook. There's 3 bullet points here. So and they're using NAR's prediction. They're saying existing home sales will jump 14% in 2026, despite prices rising 4%. Now, does that mean prices in Atlanta are going up 4%? I don't know you can specifically say that. I think there's going to be some areas where it goes up way higher than 4%. And I believe there's going to be some areas that are going to have prices only go up 1.5%. But I think the reality, what you need to hear is we will sell more houses next year, and prices are still going to appreciate in 2026. What you can predict, you got to dive deeper into your local, hyper-local numbers to be able to really give a good answer on that. The second bullet point says that they're projecting mortgage rates basically to be right around 6% in 2026. I think we might have some people who get locked in with a 5 on it, but I think from a real estate agent perspective, 6% is probably going to be the normal interest rate, give or take. It'll bounce around like it always does, but we should be expecting the mortgage environment to be around 6% on average in 2026. And from a perspective, that's a really good interest rate. And I also believe it drives demand when we're close to 6%. So I feel like that's part of the factor that's going to be healthy. I also think the changing of the Federal Reserve chair in May could put pressure to get those things even lower, but I don't want to predict that. I think it's just an environment thing. And then the last thing that just pains me is first-time buyers hit record low 21% of the industry. And now what's normal is normally around 35% is first-time home buyers. So, Manny, how old were you when you bought your first house?
22.
Oh, you did better than me. I think I was like 27. And I read an article last week that said the average age of first-time home buyers right now is 40.
Yeah.
And it pains me to think that there's like a generation that's missing out on wealth. Yet I also read articles that say that's the same generation that's about to inherit trillions of wealth from their parents as they become deceased. So maybe their parents built all the wealth in real estate and they'll just pass it on. But I still think as an industry, we could do a better job around that number in helping first-time homebuyers get into real estate, period. But what do you think of those numbers? Manny, anybody on the call?
Yeah, if anyone wants to chime in here, but I mean, here's what I think. I mean, for me, it's if you've been doing the things, if you've shifted, if you've updated your farming areas, if you update the way you're doing your database and how you're communicating, you will be getting your unfair share, as our belated birthday boy, Mr. Rick Hale, says. You will be getting your unfair share, and there's still time. You can still get in here. But you got to be doing the things. That's really what it comes down to. The opportunities will be there. Who's going to be able to catch them? That's the question. Anyone else have
There you
a? Yeah.
Yeah.
Brett,
What do you think, guys?
I was listening to
Go
the
ahead.
Housing Wire podcast, and Logan Motoshami was talking about the NAR survey that with this data, and he said that it turns out it was only 6,000 people that are surveyed that completed the survey. They send out like 120,000 of them, but only 6,000 filled it out, and it's got like 150 questions or something like that on it. So his perspective was this is some data, but it's not a representative sample, so I wouldn't put too much stock in it. That was his take.
Okay, good.
He actually said only the people that fill out surveys are older people that stay at home.
Right. So most first-time home buyers aren't filling out a 150 question survey.
See, I'm telling you, that's why I put the earmuffs on the stats people. Sometimes you just got to run with it. Go with it.
And there's a ton of good
There you go.
information here to start momentum conversations going into 2026 to get people into motion. So,
100%.
yeah.
That's it.
All right. So sometimes think you guys think from a leadership standpoint, we're salesy. But I really want to encourage everybody to go to family reunion. It's in our backyard. It should be affordable more than most years because you would have to pay for travel. And I think it's very strategic what they're doing with this social media con. And I think if you can afford it, or invest in yourself, I should say, this is a don't miss event, guys. You really need to be there. So anyway, there's my pitch. You can call it
Brett, I would just,
salesy or whatever. Yeah.
no, I would just add, I believe I would pay $1,000 just to go see Ryan Leak for a day, let alone the whole thing. So
Add Gary Vee to that,
Oh
and
my
I'm
God.
in.
yeah, but
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's an investment.
we're
It's not an
sounding
expense. You have to
salesy.
think of it as an investment.
All right, guys. Hey, I want to end with this. You show up every week. You show up, you want to be better. I want you to know that we have immense gratitude for you in investing in yourself, being in business with us. This is a week of gratitude, and I just don't want to miss the opportunity to throw gratitude to all of you. We're incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. So happy Thanksgiving, guys. Enjoy your week. Enjoy some family time, and we will see you back next week.
Have a good one, y'all.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Bye, guys.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. Be safe.